Elena Morales stood in the executive conference room wearing a housekeeping uniform that still smelled faintly of cleaning solution. Behind her, the screen displayed a financial model that could save hundreds of jobs. Adrian Blake looked only at the cleaning cart outside the door and laughed. "We need a financial plan, not a few notes from someone who changes bed sheets." He had no idea that the file he was about to leave behind contained the opportunity the company needed more than anything else. The executives in suits around the table silently avoided Elena's eyes. Richard Hayes, the chief financial officer, smiled slightly and closed the document titled Blake Extended Care Stay. "The Employee Innovation Program is only intended to encourage morale," he said. "It does not mean every idea belongs in our business strategy." Elena struggled to keep her voice from trembling. "I have vacancy rates for every floor, conversion costs, and actual long-term lodging demand from the Chicago Central Health Network." Adrian looked at the clock. His call with the bank was about to begin. That was his first opportunity to take the proposal with him and read it completely. Instead, he pushed it toward Richard. "You handle it. Miss Morales, return to work." 3 weeks earlier, Elena had never imagined herself standing in that room. During the evening shift, she often passed through an expensive hallway where nearly every room was empty. The air conditioning still operated, the lights remained on, and employees still inspected each room as though the hotel were fully occupied. One night, she met a traveling nurse desperately searching for a forgotten bag of medicine. Elena reopened the room she had just cleaned and found the bag beneath a chair. While they waited for the elevator, the nurse explained that she had to rent an apartment more than an hour from the hospital because downtown hotels were too expensive for an extended stay. After that evening, Elena began noticing hospital shuttles regularly stopping near the Grand Blake at night. She wrote the number of empty rooms on the back of her work assignment sheet, then compared it with the number of rooms that were actually occupied. In the laundry room, she asked Luis Mendoza about linen costs, unused machine hours, and the times when his team became overloaded. Luis looked around nervously. "Are you collecting internal data? I still have to support my mother. I cannot lose this job." Elena did not pressure him to answer. When she noticed that Luis kept checking the time because he needed to take his mother to a medical appointment, she rolled up her sleeves and helped finish the final laundry load. She sorted the linens, adjusted the machine loads, and discovered an unstable operating schedule. On some days, employees had too little work. On others, they were forced to remain after their shifts. Only after the work was finished did Luis give her figures that contained no personal information. But he also warned her honestly. "If you fill 320 rooms at once, the laundry team will collapse." Elena did not defend her original plan. She revised it. Under the extended stay model, linen changes would follow a more practical schedule, reducing wash cycles while still meeting sanitation standards. She recalculated staffing levels and machine capacity, then added a gradual opening period instead of activating every room at once. Every night after Mateo fell asleep, Elena sat beside an old computer in their small apartment and built 3 cash flow scenarios. But that night, her 11-year-old son remained awake and sat beside her. "Why do the people at the hotel not know you used to do this kind of work?" Elena stopped typing. "In a new place, people sometimes see only the job you have now. They do not see the road that brought you there." Mateo took a marker and wrote on the blue flash drive, "Blake Extended Care Stay, version 9. He also reminded his mother to speak slowly because whenever she became nervous, she spoke so quickly that she ran out of breath. Elena submitted the proposal through the Employee Innovation System and contacted the Chicago Central Health Network using its public address. Dr. Maya Patel did not promise a contract, but the figures matched the network's needs, so she agreed to review the plan. Several days later, an envelope bearing Dr. Maya Patel's name appeared on Elena's cleaning cart. Inside was a letter expressing interest in renting 320 rooms for 18 months if the hotel could meet the required operating conditions. Now, after Elena had been mocked in the conference room, Luis saw Richard carrying the proposal toward his private office. He followed him. "Should this be sent to the board?" Richard stopped. That was his first opportunity to deliver the truth to the proper decision-makers. Instead, he answered coldly, "Frontline employees are not authorized to negotiate with outside partners." He immediately ordered Elena's innovation account locked. At the end of her shift, Elena signed in and discovered that the proposal status had been changed to "no supporting data," even though every spreadsheet was still stored on the flash drive. She tightened her hand around it, unable to understand who wanted to erase all her work or why. Inside his private office, Richard connected the flash drive to his computer. He studied every occupancy table, every cash flow scenario, and then opened the scanned letter. His eyes remained on one line for a long time. 320 rooms for 18 months. Richard removed the flash drive, locked it inside a drawer, and called a representative from the investment fund. "We must complete the hotel sale before the board sees this." Why was the chief financial officer so afraid of a housekeeper's plan that he needed to hide it from his own company? The following morning, a message appeared on the employee notice board that left the entire basement silent. The Grand Blake would be sold as part of an emergency restructuring plan. More than 400 positions in housekeeping, laundry, food service, and maintenance could be eliminated. Inside the executive office, Richard assured Adrian that selling the company's flagship hotel would reduce debt and protect the rest of the hospitality group. Under pressure from the bank, Adrian approved a preliminary sale agreement without knowing what Richard had hidden inside his desk. Elena read the announcement among her pale-faced co-workers. She did not think only about her own job. During her break, she created a list of employees raising young children, caring for sick parents, receiving long-term medical treatment, or approaching eligibility for health insurance benefits. She printed a copy of the letter from the Chicago Central Health Network and requested a second meeting with Adrian. Richard stopped her outside the conference room. "This is only a letter of intent. It is not a binding contract." Adrian had just stepped into the hallway. Elena held the document toward him. "I am not asking you to believe me. Just call the telephone number on the letter." That was Adrian's second opportunity to pause the sale and investigate. But Richard immediately argued that the hospital network had not completed a credit review, and that converting the Grand Blake into extended stay housing would damage its luxury image. Adrian rubbed his forehead. "Miss Morales, return to work and allow the qualified professionals to handle this." Minutes later, Richard ordered Human Resources to issue Elena a warning for unauthorized contact with a potential business partner. She had gone from being mocked to becoming an employee at risk of termination simply because she was trying to prove that her data was real. Luis wanted to release the laundry capacity records publicly. Elena stopped him. You still have to care for your mother. Speak only when there is a process protecting witnesses. We cannot give them an opportunity to punish you." During the board meeting that afternoon, Eleanor Grant reviewed the list of employee proposals and noticed that the file numbers jumped from 184 to 186. "Where is file 185? Richard calmly answered that it had been a duplicate draft. Eleanor did not accept the explanation. She ordered the technology department to restore the record. The server displayed the title Blake Extended Care Stay, but every attachment had been deleted. Eleanor stared at the missing file number for a long time. She had created the Employee Innovation Program to give frontline workers a voice, but she had never checked whether their proposals actually passed through management. A system designed to open doors had become a place where ideas were buried. At that moment, a bank auditor called Eleanor directly. Blake Hospitality had violated its minimum cash requirement. The company did not have 6 months, as Adrian believed. It had only 72 hours to present a credible cash flow plan. Eleanor compared the financial reports. Richard had classified several refunded deposits as projected revenue, making the company's liquidity appear stronger than it actually was. Adrian stared at the figures in disbelief. He had prepared a strategy for the next 6 months when the company truly had only 3 days. For the first time, he understood that the person holding the highest title in the room was not necessarily the person who understood the situation best. Eleanor asked Richard directly, "Is there any other information you have not disclosed to the board?" That was Richard's second opportunity to stop. He continued insisting that selling the Grand Blake was the only solution and pressured everyone to sign the agreement that night. Using her authority as independent chairwoman, Eleanor froze the transaction for 6 hours, while the missing records were recovered. Richard immediately went to the archive room to search for the flash drive. But Louise had already saved a copy of the laundry capacity tables before the information disappeared from the shared folder. At her apartment, Elena opened her old computer and discovered that her copy was also gone. Mateo saw the desperation on his mother's face, then suddenly remembered the online school account he had used to check her charts. Inside his homework folder was the final copy of Blake Extended Care Stay, version 9. Mother and son rushed to the hotel through the nighttime snow. Elena entered the conference room carrying the blue flash drive. Eleanor invited her to sit. Adrian was clearly uncomfortable, but he no longer had the authority to dismiss the proposal without reviewing it. Elena did not make the plan sound better than it was. She admitted that the cost of converting the first floor was higher than her earlier estimate, and that the labor schedule still needed adjustment. Her honesty showed Eleanor that Elena was not selling them a dream. Dr. Maya Patel joined through a video call. She confirmed that the hospital network had conducted a preliminary review of the property, that the demand for 320 rooms was real, and that the network was prepared to negotiate. But Blake must prove that it can operate for 90 days without lowering safety standards or exploiting employees, Maya said. The letter of intent expires at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. After that, we will sign with another provider. Richard fought back. He accused Elena of using internal company data without permission, and emphasized that her academic qualifications had not been recognized in the United States. At the same time, Eleanor received a legal report. The investment fund offering to purchase the Grand Blake at nearly 30% below its conservative appraised value was managed by Richard's brother-in-law. Adrian looked at Elena, then at the proposal he had once pushed aside. "If we give you an opportunity, can you prove this plan using figures the bank will accept?" Elena placed the blue flash drive in the center of the table. "I can, but you must allow the people who actually operate this hotel to enter this room." Could Elena save an entire hospitality group within a few hours, or would Richard remove her from the conference room before the plan could be verified? Eleanor called an emergency meeting before the deadline. The board, the bank, the auditors, Dr. Maya Patel, and the heads of the operating departments all attended. Richard demanded that Elena be removed because she was not a manager. Eleanor looked directly at him. "We are evaluating the data, not the job title." Records from Columbia confirmed that Elena had once helped reduce operating costs by 18% without laying off employees. But that past experience did not automatically prove that her current plan was correct. She still had to defend every number. She stood before the screen, sometimes glancing at her notes, when technical English slowed her down. Even so, she answered every question about capacity, cost, and risk clearly. "I am not a savior," Elena said. "This plan works only if the knowledge of housekeeping, laundry, food service, and maintenance is included in the design." She presented 3 phases. During the first 30 days, 80 rooms would be converted. By day 60, the program would expand to 180 rooms, if the required standards were met. By day 90, it would reach 320 rooms. Employees would be retained and retrained, with more stable schedules. The guaranteed revenue would be used to negotiate with the bank. The bank representative confirmed that the model would not erase the debt, but it could justify a temporary suspension of collection efforts if the hospital network signed a formal commitment. Dr. Maya confirmed that the letter of intent was genuine and that the demand was real. Luis placed the original laundry capacity tables on the table and explained why the plan had been revised so his team would not be overwhelmed. The restored server records showed that Richard had deleted file 185. Auditors proved that the cash flow forecast had been altered. Legal documents exposed his relationship with the investment fund attempting to purchase the hotel. Emails showed that he knew Elena's plan could increase the value of the Grand Blake, but still wanted the sale completed before the proposal could be tested. Richard defended himself by saying he had chosen the most certain solution to save the company. Elena did not attack him. She asked only one question. "If you truly wanted to save the company, why did you need to hide another option from the board?" Richard could not answer. Adrian looked at the proposal he had once pushed aside. He understood that his own prejudice had given Richard the space to control the information. The board suspended Richard, transferred the documents to an independent investigation, and canceled the sale of the Grand Blake. Adrian temporarily lost the authority to make restructuring decisions without oversight. Executive bonuses were frozen. The board approved a 90-day pilot program. The bank signed a conditional agreement to suspend bankruptcy action. Before the clock reached 4 o'clock that afternoon, Dr. Maya signed a memorandum to reserve 80 rooms for the first phase. Adrian apologized to Elena in front of the board. She accepted the apology, but did not allow it to end the discussion. An apology cannot repair a system that listens only to people wearing suits. Elena agreed to join the implementation team after completing an independent professional assessment instead of immediately accepting an overly senior title. She required Luis and representatives from every frontline department to participate and be paid for the time they contributed. The company also compensated Elena for the hours she had spent building the plan outside her assigned duties. The first 30 days were not easy. The housekeeping schedule did not match the new operating model. Several extended stay guests complained that there was no place to prepare food. Security expenses were higher than expected. Elena did not hide the problems. She and the team adjusted cleaning schedules around the needs of patients' families, added a shared kitchen area, and redesigned work shifts, so the laundry department would not carry the extra burden. After 90 days, the pilot rooms reached an occupancy rate of 87%. Operating costs per room decreased, and there were no mass layoffs. The Chicago Central Health Network signed an 18-month contract, and the bank approved a long-term restructuring plan. Blake Hospitality avoided immediate bankruptcy, although the company still had to repay its debt according to a formal schedule. Richard was terminated for falsifying reports and concealing a conflict of interest. His case was referred for possible civil and financial liability. Adrian remained chief executive officer but was placed under supervision for 12 months. He lost his annual bonus and was required to reform the company's management culture. Before the entire company, Adrian admitted that he had mocked a proposal he had not even read because of the uniform worn by the person presenting it. The new system would review ideas anonymously during the first stage, assign tracking codes, and allow employees to appeal rejected proposals to an ethics committee. After completing the evaluation, Elena became Assistant Implementation Manager for the Extended Care Stay program. The company also funded the completion of her professional certification in the United States. Luis became the program's linen services manager. On opening day, Mateo gave his mother the registration form for her certification course, which he had purchased using his savings. The blue flash drive labeled Blake Extended Care Stay, version 9, still remained on Elena's desk. But what made Mateo happiest was seeing his mother invite the housekeeping team to sit at the conference table. When the contract was signed, Adrian handed Elena a public statement describing the project as an executive leadership initiative. She only looked at him. Adrian silently crossed out the words and rewrote the sentence. Developed from a proposal by Elena Morales and the Grand Blake operations team. In the official project photograph, Elena deliberately kept wearing the uniform that had once caused people to dismiss her. She wanted no one to forget where the idea had begun. The next time she entered the conference room, Adrian stood and pulled out chairs for representatives from laundry, food service, and housekeeping. Not every answer comes from the person holding the highest title. Sometimes justice begins when a conference room door opens for someone who understands the problem, but has never been heard. What would you have done in Elena's place? After being mocked by the chief executive officer in front of everyone, would you still have offered the plan that could save the company or allowed them to face the consequences of their own choices? Share your thoughts and continue following Stewart stories. Stories of love, hope, and justice.